My name is Teresa Zarnicki, and I'm going to be teaching in comprehension informational text. Good morning, class. This week we are going to be working with graphic organizers and using our strategies that we have learned to become successful readers. We're going to be doing some preview and some practice, and we're going to be modeling and working together on what it looks like, how to fill in 3 different kinds of graphic organizers when we are doing informational reading. So the first thing I want you to look at on the board, I have up here the graphic organizer, and it's KWL. Can anyone tell me what the KWL might mean? Yes, it means know, want, and learn. Very good. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but now we're going to be doing some further in-depth things. So up here it says before reading, and then it has the K with the question, what do I know about this topic? So you're going to look at your article and you're going to look at it and say, what do I know about that topic? And you're going to write down some ideas in this column that's under K of what you might know about that particular topic. So it's kind of a before I begin reading, I need to kind of check the following. So before we move into the next column, we're going to look at the article and we're going to look for the headings and subheadings, and if there's any italic words or any bold words in the article or in the reading, any underlined words, pictures, tables, any information that's outside of the article, and we're going to check that. And then that's part of our preview, so that after our preview with the W column, what do I want to know more about this topic? So next, so after the previewing, you're going to ask myself, what do I want to know more? Then I make kind of a prediction about the reading I have previewed. After I previewed, like a prediction, like what am I going to have here? And the next column states after reading, and it's the L, and what did I learn about reading about this topic? So this column we don't fill out. We come back to this. So this is kind of before reading, this is some previewing and after previewing, and then this we come back to afterwards. And once you've completed the other 2 graphic organizers, you come back and fill this in. Then once this is completed, you're going to discuss with your peer, which is your table partner, about what your responses to the KWL with that particular partner. You can see in the columns that there are numbers on our board here. Do we need to fill each spot out? Do we need to have 6 topics and or 6 already knows and 6? Absolutely not. Sometimes we may only have 1 or 2. Sometimes we may have 12 and we have to go to the back of the sheet and fill that out. But it's just a suggestion. So that is our first graphic organizer, the KWL. Does anybody have any questions? Good. Our next graphic organizer that goes up on the board, here as I share it with you, is the Clunks and Clues graphic organizer. Can someone tell me what a clunk might be? A clunk? Yes, it's a word we may not know or understand. As we're reading, we may come to a word and it's kind of a clunk, like, oh, I have to stop. I'm not sure what that word, or sometimes it can even be a phrase in a sentence that we're not sure about. So we have to help fix that clunk. So what we need to do is look at our clunk poster that's over here and figure out that there's 4 strategies, a 4-step strategy to help when we get to that clunk, what that looks like. First we'll write our clunk here, but let's talk about the strategies we're going to use and the fix-up strategies. We're going to reread the sentence with the clunk and look for clues to help you figure out the unknown word. It's like, think about what makes sense. I'm going to read this again because I didn't quite catch what's happening. So I'm going to reread it. Then we're going to reread that the sentence before the clunk and the sentence after the clunk of the unknown word or phrase. Now the next step is look for a prefix or suffix in the unknown word that might help you figure it out. Are we going to always have a prefix and a suffix when it comes to solving a word? No. So we may have to skip this step more times than not. So, but it's there. If there is a prefix and a suffix, then we can include this strategy with it. And then there's the break the word apart and look for smaller words that you already know. So once we've put our clunk, we're going to put the strategies the steps that we used to solve that clunk. So every time. Now, will we sometimes have more than 4 clunks? Absolutely. Will we sometimes only have 2 clunks? Absolutely. Again, it's just a suggestion. This is just our graphic organizer. So, now our graphic organizer clunks and clues, we see at the bottom that it says get the gist. And so it wants us to put the main idea. And can somebody remind me what a main idea is? Johnny? Yes, a main idea is important information. What is the most important? What is the whole thing about? Very good. Very good. So in this, as we're reading, we will fill this out. So we're going to, each paragraph or each kind of subsection of it, we're going to be like, what did the writer want me to know? What was the most important part of that reading? And we're going to jot that down. Again, we may need to go flip over to the back of our paper to put more gist, but this is going to help us when we're developing our questions for the next graphic organizer, which leads us to the question and answer, the QAD graphic organizer, question, answer, and detail. So to complete the wrap-up, you formulate questions and answers about what you have read. And I want you to review the main ideas that you wrote in the Get Gist. So the one that was just up at the bottom, it says, so what I want you to write, what's the most important thing you learned? And I want you to use it as though it's like, what would the teacher put on a test? What does the teacher want me to know about this article? So you're going to develop your own questions and your own answers and maybe some details of what led you to the answer and the question. So with this, because this sometimes can get students, very confused, I've created, and I'll put this up on the board as well, some question prompts that you can use. And so how were blank and blank the same? Different. So you can kind of use these to help get your mind thinking about the questions from your main ideas that you collected as you read. We'll be using this for a while, but eventually I want to take these away and have you using your brains and doing some deep thought when it comes to creating. But I don't want you to panic right now because sometimes that's a difficult thing. So you will be able to use this. Okay. So we've gone over a lot of information very quickly. But for the next week or two, we're going to be reading some short stories, some short articles, informational stories, informational articles together as a class. And we'll be filling out our graphic organizers together as a class. And then we will eventually branch off and start doing it individually. But I want you to all understand that we're going to be modeling this together. We're going to be putting all of our ideas up on the board and filling out our graphic organizers together. So I am going to hand out the article. It's called Space Junk. So I want you to already think, because now you've heard the article. It's called space junk. So let me put back up our first graphic organizer up on the board here. So before reading, what do I already know about space junk? So right here in column K, go ahead, before you even get the article, what do I know about space junk? We haven't seen any words on this, we haven't seen any pictures yet, but what do I know about space junk? So what I'm going to write up here, what I already know about space junk, is that there are old satellites that do not work anymore, but they're still floating in space. I know that because I heard it on the news or I've read it somewhere. That's just kind of something I know about space junk, that there's satellites that haven't been used, working for years, and they're still orbiting the Earth. So that's what I'm going to write in my number 1. And I'm going to kind of walk around and see what everybody that we're filling in, at least 1 or 2. If you don't know, like it looks like Paul says, I don't know anything about space junk, but that's good. He wrote that down. I don't know anything. He's never heard of space junk, so that's good. Okay, now I'm going to do my previewing. So now everybody has their article. And I see that the title is space junk at the top of the page, but there are no other bold words or italicized words or any other subheadings. So really all I have is space junk, but we do have a picture. We have a picture of the planet Earth and all these little specks on them. So in column K, or on column W, we will write about that we have thought about what we already know about the topic, and now let's predict what we will learn from this article. Predictions are based on clues in the text and what you already know about the topic. When you make a prediction, you then tell what makes you think so. Based on the title, headings, and pictures of the dotted Earth, I'm going to predict we will learn about what those dots are and how much junk is in space. So that's what I'm going to write right here. My prediction. We're going to learn about the dots. We're going to learn about junk in space. And you can write this on yours as well. And if you have more and would like to share out, that's perfectly fine as well. But that's what we're going to put into column W. And I'm going to walk around and see how everybody's doing with column W. Very good. Very good. Yes, everybody's getting the gist of that. Now, remember, we don't fill in column column L, because we have not read the article completely. So, we're going to leave that blank, and we're going to move on to the next graphic organizer that we had up on the board. So let me get that up on the board for you as I'm messing with my computer to get it up here. Our clunks and clues graphic organizer. Now we need to remember, as we're reading, we should be actively monitoring our comprehension by noticing what we understand, what we do understand when we're reading. Oh, this I understand. And what we don't understand. And then using the appropriate fix-it-up strategies to resolve the problems or any confusion. Words or concepts we understand can be the clues to help us out with clunks we don't understand. When you hit a word meaning clunk, you can use a fix-up strategy right here, such as the vocabulary strategy, to help you figure it out. Remember, we have strategies on the wall with our poster, and we also have it in front of us in our clunks graphic organizers. So now I'm going to read aloud. Many people know that trash is a big problem on planet Earth. What many people don't know is that trash is becoming a problem in outer space too. Years of space exploration have left tons of space junk in orbit around the planet. I'm not sure what they mean about space exploration. That's a clunk for me. So right here in clunk, I'm going to write space exploration. Now I'm going to go to my fix-up strategies. I'm going to reread the sentence with the clunk and look for clues to help figure out what the unknown word might be. So space. So I'm going to read it again. Years of space exploration have left tons of space junk in orbit around the planet. Now I'm going to reread the sentence before and after it. So the sentence before it says, what many people don't know is that trash is becoming a problem in outer space, too. According to the news organization BBC, there are more than 22,000 pieces of junk in space around the Earth. Okay, now there's really no prefix or suffix, so I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to break down the words. I've got space, and I've got exploration. Okay, so I think that in orbit around the planet, I can see that orbit means space. Going around the planet gives us exploration, because we know that when we explore, we know that things go up and explore in the outer space. So I've used my strategies. Okay, in this part I get everything is clicking. Okay, so now I'm going to continue reading. According to the news organization BBC, there are more than 22,000 pieces of junk in space around the Earth, and these are just the items that are easy to see. There may be millions of smaller pieces of junk that we cannot see. I kind of get the gist of that. I think, there's nothing in there that made me clunk, so I'm going to write down what I think what the main focus on that is that there's lots of pieces of junk floating around Earth, and it's there because we have put it there. So that's what I'm going to write for my first thing. So everything was clicking. Okay, class, we have read the entire article. We have filled in all of our clunks, all of our gists, and now we're going to wrap things up. And when we wrap things up, that means we have our last graphic organizer that we need to fill out. The question, answer, and detail graphic organizer. We're going to take our gists that we all just filled out over here, and we're going to create some questions over here. Then we're going to answer them, and then we're going to write some detail. So I'm going to put as, so what's the most important thing you learned? What improved your knowledge? So I'm going to put, my question is, what is the most important thing I learned? And my answer is going to be that as of 2013, there is still no real solution to space junk. And this means we are in a dangerous situation when it comes to space junk floating around in space. So there's my answer, and I guess some detail. Because I used 2013, I used some things out of the article to fill that in. Now remember, I can go back to my questions if I can't think of one, and I can use one of these questions to fill this out. So we have filled out all three graphic organizers together. We went back and we filled in the L. We met up with our table partners, and we discussed our KWL graphic organizer and our graphic organizers, and we now have put all the information from the article that we read, and we've comprehended it, and we understand what we read. And that's the most important thing. So again, we're going to continue these short articles this week, doing them together until we all get a handle on what we need to do with our graphic organizers. We will be using this strategy in reading our science text, reading our history texts, reading different articles and different literature with informational text. This strategy we're going to be using throughout the year and into next year as well, so that as you become to grow and continue to read more and more informational text, these strategies will just come naturally for you. You'll just kind of do them without filling out the graphic organizer and having to do it, but it'll just kind of be that we're training you how to work on your comprehension and take what you're reading and really absorb it and get all the information that you need out of it. So, that being said, we will be doing this for a while. I hope everyone had fun. I loved how much everybody was engaged, giving different ideas and different answers. You all did a very good job. Thank you, class.